wait a couple seconds. Hey guys, doing some technical stuff. Let me make sure that we are live. Send me some hearts. Let me know I got you, because you know I'm not awesome at my technical stuff. Yeah, we are live. Okay, hold on. Oh, there we go. Now you are live. Hey, okay guys, it's Wednesday. I'm Joannie Bates, and it is Wine Wednesday. And tonight for me, it's Whiskey Wednesday. Woo, I got my whiskey because when I got it in my teacup, got a little junk in the throat. So send me some hearts so I know that y'all are here. I have my good friend here today. It's Dennis Chum. And Dennis, how long have we known each other?
Oh,
Kids.
several years, because our daughters were friends in elementary school.
In elementary school.
So 8-9 years or
9
so.
years.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. So our kids are friends, and so of course you become friends with your kids' friends, because that's how it rolls. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do anyways, right? Become friends with your kids' friends. Absolutely. So I just have to first of all say, go Braves, right?
Yeah, go Braves.
Go Braves. I did not stay up and watch. I didn't watch the whole thing. Let me adjust this camera. I did not watch the whole thing. Heck, I didn't watch much of any of it. I was working with a client, trying to make sure my clients had everything they needed. So, as usual, guys, just go in the comments, ask questions, and share and like so you guys get entered to win all my awesome giveaways. And I am trying to make sure that I get all of your comments. Those should show up down here. This is where our comments will show up. Awesome. There they are. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about investing, and what I'm super, super excited about, because I'm a geek. I'm a real estate geek, and you know that. I did my 4-part series for investing. You can go back into my YouTube channel and look at all those videos about investing. Some of them are absolutely ridiculous. But I'm super proud of my friend Dennis, because he listened to me. And he went through all the steps, and he did all the things. And he did really good. Dennis, you did really good. He approached investing as a student, and I'm a big proponent of learning.
Yeah.
As is Dennis. And well, talk about why you got into investing. Like, what was your motivator?
So, I guess my biggest motivator was trying to get another string of income coming in. Because, I'm getting old. I'm getting closer and closer to retirement.
Yes.
And although I do have retirement savings and all that, I just wanted a separate source of income. So my plan is with retiring is to have multiple sources of income.
Yes.
So my company actually has a pension plan, so I have that. But I have my 401k money, and then this gives me another stream of income that I can do as I retire, and also to give me something to do when I'm retired. So I'm hoping to retire early, and then I can do this part-time, and then still generate income for my family. So
Absolutely. And it creates passive income. We talked about that in the passive income video. And basically it's mailbox money. All the work that Dennis is doing now is going to benefit his legacy, future Dennis, and his kids and his family. So he can be out going Braves games, doing all the fun stuff, being on his boat, loves his boat, and the houses he owns is paying for the boat.
That's right.
Right? I mean, that's the ultimate goal. Yeah. And what's awesome is Dennis dug into that and understood on his own terms, the way that he needed to learn, that it was a good idea.
Another thing I have was, as far as my retirement money goes, is most of it's tied up in 401ks, which you cannot touch until you're 59 and a half without major penalties. So if there's any thoughts of retiring before 59 and a half, you got to have an income from somewhere else other than your 401k.
Yes.
And so those were things that I was kind of looking at, and the reasons why I was looked at this as a way to, like you said, have a passive income, but yet at the same time, have something to do and some, enjoy doing it, and yet not be a full-time 9-to-5 job, reliant on a paycheck.
And the flexibility.
Yeah.
Because we worked in looking for houses, having our conversations, establishing what his goals were into his schedule. I mean, he's got 2 kids, he's got a family, he's got a job, and we just kind of tailored. We probably looked for gosh, how long did we look?
4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months, yeah. And probably put in 8 offers total on different properties.
Yeah, that was a little discouraging.
Yeah, well, I see that's the reality. And how many homes would you say you walked through?
I actually was thinking about it before I came here, and I might be close to 50.
Mm-hmm. I think it was.
We had 2 Saturdays that we spent all day
Yep.
looking at places, and then there was a lot of onesie twosies.
Mm-hmm.
Something would come up, and you would give me a call, and we'd go that afternoon or something, and
Exactly.
to see it. So there were a lot of those. So probably close to 50.
Yeah. Did you hear that? 50 homes. And he stuck with it. Like I've talked to y'all before. If you get the unicorn or the fairy princess where you walk into the first house on your first try and it's the one, and you put in an offer that fits your spreadsheet, because you have to run your numbers. Your numbers rule when you're an investor. And it gets accepted, that's a unicorn. That just doesn't happen.
But I think if the one that I ended up getting, I think if I'd walked in at first, I don't know if I would have known how good it was. So
let's unpack that.
yeah. So I went, and we went and looked at a lot of different places, and you learn stuff. Even if it's a place you don't like, you learn why.
Yes.
If it's a place that you do like and you put in an offer and don't get it, you still learn from that process. So everything's a learning process. Everything is a learning opportunity. So if you the first few we went into, I really didn't know what I was looking for, what was important, and then you kind of learn as you go along, because you talk to everybody. There's a lot of times you meet the other realtor who's selling the house, and you can talk to them, have conversations with them, and you learn stuff every time you go. You start looking and seeing what you want, what you don't want. Some of the places we went to were scary.
There were chickens. there was one day where this man is military, okay? And these chickens came from around the corner, and we were both like, ah!
I've never been attacked by a chicken before, so I wasn't really sure what to do.
Wasn't sure what was going to happen and how that was going to roll, but yeah, we were. That was interesting. Yeah. That was interesting, and some of them were scary. And as an investor myself, I wanted to make sure, I call it casting a large net. I use that all the time with you, is so that you cast a large net so you can establish where you're comfortable, what you're comfortable with, price point, condition, and kind of your bandwidth. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of these houses we went to, before we went, if I had time, I would look at them and do some research. Just basic stuff on the internet, right? On Zillow and things like that, about housing prices in that neighborhood. And the biggest one is rental price, right? So what can I rent this place for? So I had some tools to look up those numbers. Then you run your numbers to see if it's how good of an investment it could be. And then you can look at it and say, okay, well, this one looks like a pretty good deal. This one, not so much. And then when you go and look how much work I'm going to have to do in this, well, now I got to go back and rerun my numbers again to see if it works. And some of them look like really nice places, but as for an investment, it doesn't work, right? And so and you have to keep in mind, some of these places look nice. You're like, oh wow, this is a really nice place, but I'm not buying it for me and my family.
Yes.
So I'm not looking at it as, is this where it's going to fit for my particular family? And we love to have that feature in a house.
Right.
But that's not what you have to change that mindset of, this is an investment property. Does it work for an investment property? Does it work as, would it be appealing to a large number of renters? What would they be looking for? There was someone looking around Kennesaw State area that would looking more for students.
Yes.
So you're looking more of a roommate type format that would never work for my family.
Right.
But it would be great if I was a college student and had a roommate, and that floor plan worked great for that.
Yes.
So, but every time you go in one, you look and see what kind of condition it's in. Then you start looking at how much does it cost to repair these things and those things. And how much work you're going to have to put into it for rehabbing the place.
Exactly.
Some of them look pristine and probably good to go as soon as you sign the papers. Then there's others that's going to take another month to get it ready, or two.
Right, and in that time you're paying the mortgage.
That's right.
You know, and so then you have to factor all that into your numbers.
That's right.
Is what's the rehab going to cost for the mortgage,
Right.
for what you have to do for reconditioning, and then it's also a bandwidth on how much time do you have. Like, how much are you going to be able to contract out? Because we know it's tough to get contractors.
Right. Yeah.
You know, how are we going to establish after the inspection, oh boy, what really needs to be done, you know? There's a lot of things that we both see when we go into a house that I tune in on. I'm big on, like, water. I know where the water leaks are, and I can see where that is. And Dennis has his own forte on what he likes to look for. And so together, we pretty much walk in the house and we split. And we kind of go through and see what works, and then we meet back in the kitchen and say, yeah or
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, another thing about I learned just from looking at places, I'm not an interior decorator. I was even in our own house. I didn't have anything to do with the interior decorating of my house. My wife and my mother had everything
Perfect.
to do with it. And
Perfect.
so when I go and look at these, I'm starting to learn about some of those types of things. And sometimes you go on one, you just don't have a good feeling about how it looks. But then you go see another one, you're like, oh, I could do this, and this would really spice the place up. A lot of the places we're looking at were a little older, and they, back, I guess, in the 80s and 90s, they were a lot darker
Yes, different
carpet.
colors, Tuscan kind of looking, and
Yeah, dark.
deeper tones.
Yeah, that's not really the thing these days. And so when I go in those places, I just don't have a good feeling. But then when I went and saw another one that was more brightly colored, lighter colored floors and that kind of stuff, I was thinking, okay, now I could do that over here, and that would really
Exactly.
spice that place up.
Yeah.
So you do learn every time you go in one. So
Yeah, and it changes the income portfolio.
Yeah.
Because when you look at a home that's going to need the paint and it's going to need the carpet, you think to yourself, oh, okay, I can rent for this, but it might be like a 4-3, and you're thinking, well, this other one is a 3-2, but all that's already done.
yeah,
So it might even be better to do the 4-3 because you get a higher rent and can very easily do paint and carpet.
right.
You
And
know.
so, and my thoughts are is that something that even if it just needs paint and carpet, that scares away a lot of the people who just want to move in with their family.
Yes.
Because they don't want to have to do anything. They want a move-in ready house, but if it needs a little bit of work, that scares that group off. Which now you're just looking at people who are investors or people who are handy,
Yes.
and that smaller pool of demand keeps the price down. So that
Yes.
you know, if it lowers the price $20,000 and it takes you $10,000 to fix it up, you basically just made $10,000.
Exactly.
And so and your rent, as if it was the $20,000 more, is based on that, not on what you actually paid for it.
Exactly.
So you're creating value and creating a value in that home that wasn't there, and so it takes a little bit more to invest
Yes.
to do that, a little more work. And like you said, you could go another month or so not having a renter in there.
Right.
But in the long run, it could actually end up being better for you.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, your ROI is better. Your renters are going to be there more long term because maybe it's a family,
Yeah.
and they're going to stay, and that's kind of your goal is to have a good tenant
right,
who stays and pays. That's my thing. You want them to stay and pay.
yeah. And so if you have one where you actually, let's say you did a big rehab on it, the other thing about that, let's say it's a 1970s home,
Right.
so it's 50 years old, and you go in there and you have to renovate a lot, let's say to the kitchen, the bathrooms, and carpet and paint. Yes, you put in all that money, but you're not going to have any maintenance for a while.
A long time.
A long time. You put in brand new carpet or brand new floors, those are going to last you for many years. If you have to put on a roof, well, that's 20 years. You don't have to worry about
Exactly.
that. And so your ongoing cost of maintenance, or if you buy one that's just 30 years old, but it still has the original stuff in it,
Yes.
you're going to be doing maintenance.
It's a
on
little
that.
time bomb. That's
Yeah.
that time bomb, and you're thinking, okay, this is the time when everything starts going.
That's right.
And then you start having to shell out big money. I mean, HVAC is the biggest
Yeah.
cost in a home.
Yeah.
And so you can be looking at anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 depending on the size of the home to put in a new HVAC system.
Right.
So by doing that, getting one and already doing it at the beginning, or buying even newer,
Yeah.
you eliminate all those problems.
That's right. Yep.
And so when we finally went through our 50 homes, and myself and my sweet friend Shannon Frazier, we teamed up on this one, and we found Pico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was actually just didn't need much work on it. I had to do a little bit of window. I had to replace the windows.
Yeah.
There was some doors I had to replace, and then a little bit of exterior work that I had to do, and that was it.
Yeah.
So it was really ready to go, and it had the previous owner had put in new floors and painted it, so it did have that more brighter.
It was fresh. It really
yeah.
was fresh. It showed really well. And it was that one of these moments where we're like, yeah, we'll put in an offer in. And they're like, wait, we got it?
I didn't think I was going to get it
Yeah.
because it didn't need much work.
Yes.
So I thought we would have a lot of people who wanted it for their permanent residence, their primary residence. And I thought that people would want, a lot more people would, because it's lower price also.
Right.
So it was on the lower end of the spectrum. And so I didn't think we were going to get it. So I was already starting to look to the next
Yeah,
one.
we were actually, once we got to the point where we put in offers and we're like, all right, now are we going to look some more?
Yeah.
And when I find something, I'm the kind of agent who I search every morning, and if something popped up, I'd be like, I'm going to look at it. We have an appointment at 12. If you're not there, it's okay. We were already doing that when we went under contract with this particular property, and it's a 3-1.
Yes, 3-1.
Yep.
I was actually kind of looking for a 3-2, but this one just seemed, and when I ran the numbers on it, it was the best one I actually had out of all 50.
Yeah.
It was the best I had, and the part I was always the most unsure about was rent, because I mean, you would tell me what you thought we could get for rent right here, and then I had a couple of online tools, but those are just kind of running algorithms.
Yes.
It's
Number
hard
tools.
It's hard to put in, some of the intangibles, like the fact that it's got new floors, it's got new paint, it's got a big yard.
Takes out the people factor.
Yeah. So it's because it does have a big yard in it.
It does.
And so it didn't take those into account, but I actually ended up getting more than what all those tools were telling me it was going to get. So then the numbers came out even better.
Well, we even had experts tell us to come in significantly lower.
That's right.
And we established that we paid attention to the market. We knew the area. We had a real pulse on what was renting. And so we aimed high.
Yeah.
And we actually went through the process together. I vetted and advertised, and the best advertising we had was the signs you put out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it. We went old school.
So I was a little nervous about doing that part myself, because my original plan was just get a management company.
Getting a management company.
But they take 10% or so, and so
10% is a lot.
It's a lot when you got to remember almost half is mortgage, and so it's 10% of the whole thing. So it's really like 20-25% of what your profit is.
It really cuts into your ROI.
Yeah. So you did convince me that I could do this, and so
I was like, "Yeah, we got this." I didn't give it much of a choice. I was like, "You're fine, we got this."
So we went through, and you helped me through that process as well, just like the rest of it. You do it yourself, so you had some forms and some strategies and such. And we had a couple by word of mouth that went and saw it and didn't work out. And so you said, well, let's just put up a sign. So like you said, old school.
Old school works. I had my phone number out there. It's okay. I got a lot of great leads from it. I've met a lot of cool people, and it's good.
Yeah, so it was on a short street cul-de-sac.
Yes.
And so I put a sign in front of the house, which another thing made me want to go for a higher rent was when I was doing some work on the house and I was looking at it and I was out of the house, I had a contractor have two people walk up to him asking if the place was for rent.
Yes.
And we didn't even have a sign up yet.
Yeah.
And then I was out there once, I had some people walk up, same thing. Hey, is it for rent? I want to rent it. I'm like, how did you even know it was for rent?
Did you see what he's saying?
So
people are so desperate for, this is a 3-1.
Yeah.
Technically 3-1s don't rent well because there's only one bathroom. People were literally driving up, and it wasn't advertised. I didn't put anything out yet. Just because there was activity at the house, they were showing up.
That's right. So then I just went to Lowe's, got a for rent sign, put your phone number on it, which, okay. And
I was fine with it. I'm good.
And then I had a little for rent sign that I went and put out on the main street. So, I mean, it was a little one, just says for rent and an arrow that way.
Yeah.
And I was a little concerned that one was too small. And since it was on the right way of the road, I was thinking it's probably going to get knocked down or something. But it didn't. And So, you know, you told me your phone started ringing off the hook on the first
I would
first
say
day.
within the first hour, I had over 20 calls, and then I have a little automated system I can use where they kind of dump in, and I can check them later, and it doesn't fill up my my box. I would say after the first 48 hours, there were over 100 messages.
Wow. Yeah. She eventually told me just to go take it down.
I'm like, hey, can you just go? Because we're good. We're good. Just take the sign down. But we did. We you know, you have to be careful with HUD and, you know, following the rules. This is his house, and I act as a pass-through, so it wasn't a fiduciary thing. He was acting as a client, not a customer. So I was giving him all the decision making. I was just guiding him. So that worked out really well.
Yeah, that did. And and we ran through the background checks and stuff
TransUnion, smart move.
like you suggested, and it was good because one came up and we sounded good on paper.
Sound real good on paper, and then you go through TransUnion, you're like,
yeah. And so he didn't, you know, make the cut. And
didn't
so,
make the cut. No.
Then we had, you know, ran going through and finally had one that I think is going to be good.
Me too.
It's actually, I think a nice little family who's going to
feel good moment too.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me about on the other side of it, as far as being able to provide housing for folks who might not otherwise have it.
Yeah, so this was a grandmother who is raising her 2 grandkids. So they had a family situation, and so it's a recent thing. So she's had to, you know, she needed a house, and she came by and she was wanting to look at it and was real anxious. She was really excited about how it was clean, how it was had a few nice things because I had put in a new refrigerator, a new washer and dryer,
Isn't that like the extra care? Washer and dryer, new refrigerator.
Yeah, and she
Good
was
deal.
really excited about that,
Yeah.
and she thought she was going to provide a washer dryer, and then it was the perfect size for her. And she said she was having a hard time finding affordable place for her to live with her 2 grandkids, and so yeah, it does make kind of feel good that you're actually doing something nice.
And now
for
those
somebody.
grandbabies who might have been in a tight spot are gonna have a yard, a cul-de-sac, you know, a house.
It's a nice little neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's probably 20
Yeah.
homes on there. Some of them are duplexes, but all the yards are kept up nice. The people that we met in the neighborhood were all very friendly,
All
very nice.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of them called me. When your sign's in front of a house, don't think that people who calling you are just wanting to rent it. They want to know everything. So are you a company? Are you one of those open door places? Zillow place? No. This is a independent, what I refer to a mom and pop, family owned, and they were so excited to be able to have somebody who was going to care and be there and be part of the community.
yeah.
So you did good. Seriously good.
Well, you were a good teacher.
I was a good
So,
teacher. I'm a little pushy. You can do this.
Yeah.
You can do this.
but I was hesitant going in because 15 years ago or so, in 2008, when the housing market was crashing, I was actually moving from Gwinnett County to Cobb County. I had built a house in Cobb County, so there's that timing of selling your house before your new house is ready. And so, but we couldn't sell the old house because the market was crashing, recession was hitting, prices were
Brutal
just
time.
dropping, and so I said, why don't I just rent it for a while?
Yes.
But I just went down to a management company, said, hey, rent my house. Did not work out at all. They never found a renter. It was a bad situation, and so it kind of turned me off from the whole thing for years. And so, but looking back on it, I did not go into it with the right attitude. I was in there I'm desperate. I got 2 houses. I got 2 house notes.
2 house payments, and you need it done.
Yeah, and I needed it done. I just was desperate. I'm like, just rent it so I can cover my mortgage on that house.
Yeah.
And but this one was more of this was an investment I'm doing, not a desperate situation. So I did a lot of research before I even called you, and and had to convince my wife. And so
I know, Miss Tina. I love you so much. I thought it was funny because she would say, "Call Joannie."
But she got tired of me talking about it.
Right, yeah. Just call Joannie. Be fine. Well, and I love it because at one point I think you were going to a trade show,
Yeah.
and I was like, "No, no, you get him. He needs to come home because that is like swimming with sharks."
So I was looking for contacts
Yes.
in the industry. And so I was looking for, like contractors, management companies, the whole thing.
Your vendors.
Yeah, the whole thing. And so then you told me don't go. You got all that for me, and so you helped me out with finding, the mortgage company, the contractors, everything that goes along the whole process. You helped me find people, and you had, let me tap into your pool of contacts.
And they're all good.
Yeah.
They're good people.
Yeah.
Everyone I send, if they're not good people, they're not coming.
Yeah.
Because when I work with my people, they're like family. And I can't have you work with any people who are in like some trade show. No,
So
that's not good. That's not good at all.
yeah, so I did not have a network at all in this industry. So that was one of the biggest things that you've helped me out with is having contacts.
Yeah, good.
So
And the beautiful thing is what I don't know, I will find out. And I think what was really cool is when we started working with Blakely.
yeah.
Yeah. So Blakely, you on here? I know you're here somewhere, so I'm gonna see if you're talking to me. Here we go. Hey Shannon. Hey Nancy. Y'all, I can see your questions. I'm getting better at this, so you keep asking me questions. And ask Dennis questions. If you're out there and you're kind of a newbie investor, remember this was his first jump in the pool. First one, and the water's fine. He jumped right in. So Blakely with Certainty Homes, Blakely was just here 2 weeks ago and we were talking about stuff. Tell us about that transaction with Blakely.
So she was real nice, real helpful. I even called her when I got the beginning of the process, before I even had a home, before I really started looking. So she kind of helped me through the process because, again, I didn't know anybody, so I just assumed I'd go to my major bank. And,
Right, big box bank.
Big box bank and go that way. So, see how many mistakes you had?
I help him avoid all these pitfalls. Could have gone south.
And got me pre-approved at the very beginning, which at that time I didn't understand how important that was to have that done. And then through the process and everything of talking with them, I found out about some other things they have that in my future homes that I get invest in, as far as helping with rehabbing.
Rehab loans.
And rehab loans, and be able to roll that all into one loan. And then they even also help because they inspect from behind the contractors. So the things I don't know about, they have somebody to do that. So I haven't done that process yet, but that's something I'm interested in when, because this one was kind of easy. I didn't want it to, my first one, to have much of a rehab.
I agree.
Because I needed to get I wanted to go all the way through the process. I wanted to go all the way to the point where I had an actual rent check that came in.
And got one today.
So once I get that, then I knew I went all the way through the process. I wanted it to be easy, so I didn't want anything that was really challenging.
Yes.
So it had a little bit of work, not a lot. And then on the next one, I can get a little bit more on that side, because that's the part that I really want to get into, because I think that your value is a lot more when you start looking at rehabbing. So if you can, you buy, you rehab, you refurbish it, you rent it, and you refinance it. So you refinance it. And
That
then you
formula
get
that he just said is truly the magic.
Yeah.
And that's a hold formula. That's not a flip.
Right.
That's all hold.
That's right.
And that's money making.
So if you put in some money to rehab the place, especially the more, obviously the more rehab the better as far as this part goes. But you have to know what you're doing, right? So I'm not going to go all the way to a big one first.
Exactly.
But you put in that value I said that you created earlier. Well, but when you go to refinance, you can grab all that equity out that you created. And so now your investment in it out of your pocket at the end of the whole transaction can be close to zero. And if you can get zero investment, then you're making an infinite amount of return. And then you can go and do another one because you're not using your money out of your pocket.
That's the key right
so
there.
You may take some money to invest for a month or two or three, and then when you get that money back out, then you just go and do it again. So you just need one pot of money to do really as many as you can do. So,
it's a rinse and repeat, isn't it?
Yes.
It's an absolute rinse and repeat. And when you started this, because you studied, you didn't, like you said, you were not going to jump into this without knowing.
Yeah, that's kind of who I am anyway. So.
Right, and I love that because there's a little bit of a yin yang here. I am like, I go 100 miles an hour, and it's good for me to work with my investors because it slows me down. Because when you invest, you do really need to hit all those numbers.
Yeah,
It's important.
And so I did a lot of, I learned mostly but through videos. So I did a lot of podcasts, a lot of videos on YouTube, and I did a lot of searches, and I found something I liked. There was one website that I found that had a tremendous amount of information on there, a lot of tools.
Yes.
It was called biggerpockets.com.
Yeah, biggerpockets.com. And we'll put that in the link. Julie, if you get a second, if you could pop that in, biggerpockets.com. It's excellent. It is a lot of information.
Yes, it's
it can be intimidating. I resource that also. So just don't, you could like be up all night.
Well, yeah, well, they have short videos that are like 10 minutes, and then they have their podcasts for like an hour.
Yes.
But they talk a lot about investors, different types of investing, different ways of investing. But the biggest thing I liked about it was their tools. So they have built-in calculators to look at, you know, if I'm renting a place, or if I want to buy a place to rent, you know, how much am I going to make on this?
Exactly.
And so you put in there, they tell you these are things you need to think about. What about your maintenance costs? What about vacancy costs? What about capital improvements? Things like that. And you put all these things into your calculator, and it comes out and shows you basically, is this a good investment or not a good investment? Yeah. And so, you know, if you got to buy a place for $200 and put another $50 into it, if I'm only going to be able to charge $1,100 a month, it's going to show you pretty quickly. Yeah. And I'm kind of a numbers guy, so I like to mess with all the calculators. That was one of my rent tools also that I used on there. But it has a ton of information. I don't know if you could ever get through all the information they have.
Well, what's cool is you can also search in it by what you're looking for.
That's right.
And so if you're looking for, you wanting to do a flip, it will help you get information on that. Yeah. If you want to do a subject to, which is a different kind, which we'll talk about, which I really want you to do, but that's not a different thing. If you're doing a subject to or a renovation, or if you're doing wholesaling. If you're going into any of those things, that particular site is incredible for that.
Yeah. So I also went out and found other podcasts and YouTube videos from different people, just kind of check and see if they say the same thing that these guys are saying.
Or that I'm saying.
Yeah, what you're saying. I never checked what you said.
Never! No fact checking for the Joannie. I love it.
And so, but a lot of times what I did, you know, come up with these theories about how to do things, and I would run them past you, go, you know, does this sound like a legitimate thing or not, you know? And so it just kind of changed my thought process a little bit around just money in general. So, you know, before I was a little more on the Dave Ramsey type track of no debt. But, and then when I was looking at this, I was saying, well, yes, if you buy a house and you pay cash for the whole house and you get rent, yes, you can make some money, but you're only on your investment, you're only making maybe 6%.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, I can just get a money market and do that. And so, but then when I developed about leveraging, and then the whole, like we talked about the rehabbing, creating that wealth within that home, and then getting that wealth back out,
pulling that value up,
is really where it kind of clicked in my head of the grabbing that wealth, an asset that you built, and then being able to reinvest it somewhere else and do it again. So yes, there's risk, but I think the rewards can be quite high.
Particularly in our market.
Yeah.
Because when you think about other markets in the country, they're not Atlanta. When you look at the national average for things, Atlanta doesn't apply to that because we're a huge growing area, and not just the city, but everything around it is growing. Yeah. And so we don't experience as much disparity. So it is an excellent investor market. Yeah. I mean, I know it kind of feels like a cookie jar moment, doesn't it? You're like, I can't just take one, but I'm going to try to eat just one. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And another thing that I thought was super cool is how you got to share it with your son.
Oh, yeah. So, all right, now I get to brag on my kids for a little bit here.
That's what you're supposed to do.
I can bring up pictures and show those too, but it's
Mm-hmm.
So my son, he's in ninth grade, so he's just turned 15, and he's really, really a good kid, and he's really smart, and so he has always been interested in money and saving money. I mean, he doesn't spend his money, so he has a lot of money in his savings account, and he could almost invest now into himself.
I love it. It's awesome.
But so when he gets birthday money or money for grades or whatever, he just saves it, and so
He's not running to GameStop.
no, he's not. So he's very purposeful about that. He thinks a lot about it, and so he was hearing me talk about going to see homes, things like that. And he said, "Well, can I go? I want to see one of these." And so I would bring him along sometimes if he wasn't in school or didn't have his other activities going on. I would bring him. He would come out there and he would look at the house, and he would really make a lot of good thoughts about the home that we were seeing. And so I was really kind of impressed with him, to tell you the truth.
Me
and
too.
So,
I was absolutely too.
and so I shared with him even the finance side of this.
Absolutely.
You know, how much do these homes cost? You know, how much rent you're going to get for this home? What are you going to be able to, you know, how much do you have to invest on the rehab? Things like that. And he would kind of look at things as well and start kind of running through some of these things in his head.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think one day he's going to take over my empire, and he's.
I think so too. And isn't that what it's all about, though? When you
Yeah.
think about you're teaching him something, you're doing something together.
Yeah.
You know, and kids don't know that, but you're getting to have that valuable quality time too.
Right.
You know, and we'd be talking on speaker, and he'd be in the car. I could hear him like, "Well, actually, I think that." I'm like, "Hey, buddy!" And really excellent points he would make. He contributed. He's interested. He's 15, so it's cool.
And I think one thing that our education system does a very poor job of is teaching finance,
Teaching money.
teaching money to our kids, and I think they do a horrible job with it.
Yeah.
And so I really looked at this as a way of teaching him about the adult world of money,
And it's not all about being paycheck to paycheck.
that's right. That's right.
It's critical for our children to learn. And honestly, I can say this, not just because I'm an investor and an agent, but there's no other place where your money can work harder than in real estate. Because where else can you put down not 100% and then turn around and pull 100% out? You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
yeah.
Where else can you do that?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. Not the stock market.
Yeah. Not the stock market. Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So it's
Yeah.
it's really good, and you know, also the thing about it is there's really kind of two streams, I guess, of wealth that's being created on real estate like this,
Yeah.
because obviously the home appreciates in value, and whatever, if you put improvements into it, and you know, the
Capital
capital goes,
improvements.
the value of it goes up,
Absolutely.
and creates that wealth. But also you get the cash flow coming in. So you get the cash flow every month, that rent check coming in, that's paying the mortgage for you. So you're not having to pay your mortgage, and then you have this left over, which is your cash flow that can pay for, you know, your daily type of bills
Exactly.
that you have, or daily expenses you may have, either personally or otherwise, and gives you more money to go invest in other things. So it's two streams of income are coming in from that investment.
So what would your advice be to someone who's watching, who's been watching, who went through my 4-part series, who is kind of teetering on is it too risky? The market's going to do this. I mean,
So the first thing you should do is call Johnny.
I didn't pay him for that or anything.
Seriously though, create your network.
Yes.
Meet
Your people.
Yeah, talk to people.
Find your people.
Meet people in the industry, and even if it's people that you may not end up working with, you can still learn from them.
Absolutely.
And so, and then do your own research.
Be a student.
Yeah, do your own research. If you like reading, there's magazines and there's articles and things like that you can read to learn about the industry. You don't want to rely on somebody else for everything.
Absolutely.
You want to understand
In the
process.
way that you need to understand.
That's right.
Yes.
And so even though I have zero interest of being a real estate agent, I want to understand the process and what goes through with the process, and so that I can have I'm investing my money out of my pocket.
Absolutely.
And so I want to know where it goes, why we're doing this, what does every single little number mean,
Absolutely.
and why am I paying that, and can I pay less for that? And so you need to understand everything. So you need to learn, you need to study, and always learn. You're never going to be done learning, ever.
Never, and nor should you.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week in mindset. When you stop learning, you die. That's it. You always have to learn. And so you've got your people, you've got your good student, and then what's one more tip you can give folks?
So you do have to have your finances in order.
Yeah, you
You
do.
got to have your finances in order. If you have bad credit, you need to work on that. There's ways of pulling up your credit.
Absolutely.
And you do need to have on your first one enough cash in order to make that investment.
You do.
And so how do you build up that cash? You got to, maybe you sell another asset you have. Maybe you, have it from an inheritance. Maybe you can, if you instead of investing it in whatever else you're investing in, you move it over here. Maybe you cut back on some other things that you're doing. But you do need to have enough cash to have the 20% down, because that's what we require for investment properties is 20% down.
Yep.
And then anticipate some money that you have to pay for anything you got to fix up, rehabbing, and then if it does take another month or so, you got to cover that first mortgage payment.
Yep. First
So
mortgage.
you have to have enough buffer in there for that. And so it does take a little bit to get going. So you need to have your finances in order, and then eventually it'll get to the point where you won't need as much.
Exactly.
So
Because they will feed each other. It
That's
kind of
right.
creates an effect of you put one in the bucket, kind of like those little things, and you add water and it grows.
yeah,
Just like that.
yeah.
Just like that.
And so then I'm eventually looking forward to having multiples, which also lowers your risk.
Yes.
Because right now I have one home, and if something were to happen to that renter or don't pay or whatever, then I have 100% vacancy.
100% vacancy.
If I end up having 10, and what happens in one, I only have a 10% vacancy. And so
All about numbers.
the other homes can still cover the mortgage payment. I just, obviously I'm out of money, but
Right.
um,
Not as big though.
it's not as,
It's not 100%.
yeah, it's not as big of a
Yes.
risk
Yes.
when I have multiples
Yes.
as you do when you have one. So,
That's so good.
and come up with a plan. What is your plan?
What are your intentions?
Yeah.
Where do you want it to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Kind of start, like we talked about this before in our investing, start with an exit. Exit here is retirement,
Yeah.
mailbox money, and work backwards.
Yeah.
And that's usually the best way to do anything. We talked about that too, as moms planning for a trip to Disney. You look on the calendar, you say, on this date, we're supposed to get on the boat, the
Yeah.
Disney cruise. What do we need to do here to make sure that happens?
That's right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly the same thing.
So you don't plan, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So
And don't be scared, right?
yeah. So like I said, do your research. Also, I kind of looked at one of the things you'd asked me early on is what are you looking for? Rental house. Well, you want a 1 bedroom, 1 bath little apartment, or are you looking at a big mansion?
Right.
$1 million home. What are you looking for? And so I had to find the spot in which I was looking for. I chose more on the lower end,
Yeah.
smaller homes, 3.2.
Higher return.
Yeah. That's it is higher return. Yeah, like you said, because the rent versus mortgage payment, or versus price of the home rather, is much higher on the lower end homes.
Exactly.
You go out and buy $1 million home, and you're not going to be able. You might be able to cover the mortgage with the
Maybe.
rent, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then also the bigger the homes they could afford, $3,000-4,000 a month rent,
Right.
then they're just going to buy one. And
Exactly.
So
So the need and the sweet spot is 3, 2.5.
Yeah.
Sweet spot 3, 2.5 all day long.
yeah,
You're gonna a nice ranch that might need a little bit of work. That is 100% your sweet spot.
yeah,
Will you come back and talk
sure.
when we do number 2 and number 3, and tell us on how it's going with your number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of him. I mean, truly. Trusted, learned, got his people, was a student, understood his finances, and went for it. No fear. And one more thing. In honor of Veterans Day, this month is on November 11th.
Yep.
So this month, anything that Joni Bates sells, signs, either a listing, a selling, anything, 5% of my commission is going to Wounded Warriors.
Oh,
And
That's
thank you
great.
for your service.
well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you. So I'm Joannie Bates, 770-363-2752. And this is my newest entrepreneur. Get to know him because he's awesome, awesome, awesome. And thank you. Thank you for being here. So you guys be well. Holler at me if you need anything. I'm going to see if I can get off of this. Bye, guys. Go Braves.